There we go.
Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity Amplified and Intensified. I got me a lot of piss and vinegar today. I think Eric might have a lot. Let's do this.
Let's do it, man. What's going on, man? It seems, before we get started into the whole piss and vinegar, man, I just, if any of our listeners are not listening to our normal weekly interviews, they really should. I think we've had some really, really good people on lately, and they should really take the time to listen to some of those. I'm getting pretty excited about some of them that we've been having lately.
We have one coming that built a platform to detect uses of Pegasus on mobile phones. It's in peer review right now. So that's coming soon.
Dude, that's going to be another good conversation, I tell you what. But anyway, don't want to be so self-grandizing and definitely get back to, what we do best is shitting on people.
Specifically vendors and MSPs.
Yes. Yeah.
And Kaseya, because I had to unsubscribe from yet another round of their emails this morning.
Yeah. Dude, so here we go. I even got a normal one into my inbox, and then 5 minutes later, I got one into my info box. I'm like,
yep,
what the fuck?
I unsubscribed both again. I tagged Kaseya and the FTC. FTC, if you're listening, please fucking do something to Kaseya, because every couple weeks I'm back on their list. I don't want to be on their list. Write that down. So, Hackfest, China, burning 0 days. Talk to me.
Dude, all right, let me take a step back. Every year, there is massive conferences that are around the globe. You got Pwn2Own, which is a good one. You've got Black Hat. You've got all these, testing and disclosure hack fests, and everybody is, like, oh, well, look what they did. So, there was one that was done in China, and we'll get into the whole China thing, but the amount of money that these quote unquote researchers made, $50,000 against Chrome, Safari, Adobe, Docker, there was 5 hacks in Windows 10, 4 for Adobe PDF, you got Parallels, you got iOS, Asus, Docker, you got all these things. And, our lovely one that we love to shit on of Microsoft Exchange one time.
Why is anyone still running Microsoft Exchange if they do not have a compliance checkbox to check?
I don't know. I mean, that is really the key, is a compliancy check.
That I get, but if you're dealing with compliance, you should be dealing with competent IT providers to secure that shit.
Yep. But the thing that people need to understand, and I really want to stress this thing, is, this is definitely not in any way, shape, or form. It's like, okay, we're going to have a Pwn2Own starting on Tuesday. Everybody gets into a room and they start hacking on this application and finds new things. Fuck no, that's not the way this works. These things are created or found and sat on for next year, hoping that nobody else finds this and exploits this and pushes this thing out. So they work year round to show, look what we can do. So these are at least 5 0 days in Windows 10 that have been available for up to a year. 4 of them in Microsoft Adobe PDF Reader.
Do you think they were exploited?
Who knows?
I mean, that would never happen, right?
No.
They're just sitting on these for research purposes, so that's never going to happen. Not at all.
No. So
I got a thought on this.
These are all by the Chinese, right? So if you don't think that the Chinese don't have an upper hand in security and hacking capabilities, think fucking again.
I don't think the Chinese are exploiting those. I think the vulnerabilities that are released in this exercise, because understand something, Chinese citizens are no longer allowed to participate in these exercises outside of China. I think every last one of these 0 day vulnerabilities were 0 day vulnerabilities they noticed in the wild being used by other intelligence agencies. So by putting them in public view, other intelligence agencies just had their quiver reduced.
I don't know. There's a lot of this stuff that, I mean, a lot of these people, there's been certain Chinese government agencies that have been banned from Pwn to Own because they will literally, it's been proven that they will literally sit on exploits.
They
and just
own this
burn
shit.
them. Yeah, they'll burn it. It's like, okay, we've got 30 other exploits in the hopper that we can still use. We don't care. Let's just flex some muscle and
That's
do
what I'm
this.
telling you. It's either that foreign intelligence services are using these, or they've used it to the point where it's a known tactic by other intelligence agencies. So they're like, yeah, take it. As you said, we got 30 more.
Yeah, this is the stuff that literally makes me want to throw up. You know, from digital forensics, from security, from all the things in my world, you know, this is the stuff that you're like, okay, these guys definitely have a lot of stuff in the hopper. They definitely are just sitting on stuff. You know, I do know that there are conferences that go around the world and there are, you know, the quote unquote backroom, you know, conversations where they are simply there to sell these 0 days.
Isn't that the dark web?
No.
You mean,
I mean, dark web has
life? You mean there's a real life version of the dark web?
Yeah.
People still do shit in shady back rooms and alleyways. Interesting.
So it's, I don't know, man, a lot of this stuff. And, you know, I don't know. We've talked about it a little bit before, but I really don't think that these guys and gals, I should say, these researchers are really doing it for the money, right?
Maybe it's part of the social score.
Yeah, it's definitely part of the social score. It's definitely part of the flexing. You know, it's, I don't know. The only ones that were used as smartphone Chinese. Yes, I mean, in this one, there's even things that are listed. I mean, for those who are listening to the audio version, we'll have to definitely make sure it'll be the first link in the description there. But there's definitely things that are here that were not mentioned or put in as the target prizes because it was out of scope. But this is just fucked, dude. I mean, if you're not looking at this and like, we need to step up our game, we need to start taking a more proactive version, more proactive protocols of, you know, securing our shit, you've got problems.
But we're winning. What are you talking about?
Didn't we stop winning when Biden got into office?
No. We've been winning because law enforcement around the world has been wrapping up dozens and dozens of people playing whack-a-mole. The U.S. government they pulled China's 214 license for China Telecom, which is a U.S. subsidiary. The Ukrainian government Ukrainian SSU doxed 5 members of the Gamaredon ransomware group who apparently launched 5,000 plus attacks against them since 2014. Here's the thing I don't think the public doesn't get. I know part of this is a PR assault against ransomware. And listen, I'm all for it, right? Because if you can stop them, slow them down, make the cost of ransomware that much higher for them to do, it's better for us in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But what people need to realize, our threshold for suffering here in the United States or the Western world is far lower than what these people are used to on a daily basis. One of those people going to jail doesn't bother them because they were probably from abject poverty and now their parents, their family members are set for life.
Yep. When you talk about this, I want to drive something home for those who are watching and listening to this thing. While $32,000 of a yearly income here in the United States is poverty, if you expand that $32,000 across the globe, you are literally in the fucking 1%. That's how much money we make compared to other countries. If you take $32,000 and you go to one of these other countries, you're living high on the fucking hog, dude. I mean, you've got more money than God to those people.
You know what I like in this cyber war too?
What's that?
Afghanistan, Vietnam.
I could
It's
see
going
that.
to be prolonged and protracted warfare against an enemy that will not be subdued.
No,
unless they take radical action against these ransomware guys.
I think it's got to go a little bit more than that. So until you get to a point where you're starting to cripple and dismember countries' governments, like you dismember the Chinese army, the Russian KGB, whatever, there's not going to be any stop to it, until there's a new potential governing body for that. Granted,
who's going to go try to upend Russia, try to upend China?
Definitely not us, the way that we currently have our current stance.
I don't think we can. I saw General Milley said that we can protect Taiwan from China. Can we really, though?
I don't think we can.
Do we really want to be on the other side of the world in another theater? Based on carriers? Because where else are we going to be based?
Exactly. And Milley only came out because he was getting so much pressure. He didn't want to talk about that.
I saw that Chris Inglis, Jen Easterly from CISA and National Cyber Security Advisor. What's Mr. Inglis's title?
I forget, to be honest with you.
Anyway, they're all doing the dog and pony show in front of Congress for hearings this week. Why the fuck are they doing that? Why is our national strategy to combat a current adversary being put in an open hearing?
I don't know.
Why not just send them a FedEx or a WeChat of our playbooks? Like, what's the point?
I don't know what they're doing. They are, broadcasting, like you said, the playbook. That it's like, was it Milley or something like that came out and said we would communicate to China before we actually attacked? I'm like, really?
Well, China's a lot stronger than they have been from time immemorial.
If you're going to attack a country, you don't broadcast it.
That could all be gamesmanship. That could just be a gentleman's way of saying, listen, we're keeping an eye on the situation. We don't think it's a good idea. I just don't think other countries of China's power, of Russia's power and influence care. What are they dependent on from us?
We've talked about this a couple of times, and I've actually found out that they are very dependent on our agricultural space. Like, okay, that's our biggest thing that we export to them is food.
And are you talking about China?
Yeah. China, Russia, Taiwan.
You're talking about a country that when they want to do something, they will build a multi-billion-dollar proof of concept just to see if it works. So if they really wanted their own food, I think they could do that.
But, do they have the room to?
Maybe that's when they go up against Russia. They do share some borders. And we sit back with some popcorn and say, how you doing?
Just over here eating our apples and oranges, man.
Anyway, that's enough of me. Well, you know what? That's not enough of me. I think a large portion of what we're doing is playing that PR offensive and trying to instill a positive sense to the United States and its people. Say, we are getting a handle on this. I mean, Cybercom came out swinging if it in fact really was them against Regal. Yeah.
It's a good PR move. I do wonder how much of it is a political game, because no matter what side of the fence you're on, you can easily see how politics is clearly spewing one thing out of their mouth and turning around and doing something completely different. So how much of this is actual factuary versus the dog and pony political?
We'll never know. We do not have that clearance level and probably never will.
No.
Not with the way we curse.
But with that said, I don't think what they are portraying is really the grip and handle that they really have on the situation.
You know, to their credit, if you want to call it that, I don't think they can. If people really understood how bad it was, we'd all be shitting our pants.
You know what? Sometimes we just need a good ass shitting.
Yeah, man. Too much. It's too easy to divide people on this side of the world these days. You don't need to add something else.
Yeah, maybe so. Because I mean, we are pretty fucking divided as it is. I mean,
yeah. Listen, that distance in the middle just keeps getting wider and wider. So you know, that's it. It is what it is. The other thing I want to talk about is NSO Group. Creators of the almighty Pegasus were sanctioned by the U.S. government.
Yes, sir.
And the former Attorney General, or was it Deputy Attorney General, is who has been advising NSO Group. What's his name? Roderstein?
Yeah, Roderstein, yep.
He has been representing NSO Group. So now that there are sanctions, is he still allowed to do that?
I don't think so.
Chalk it up. Whatever.
Yeah, what the fuck ever.
Hey, do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah. You know, I want to sidetrack. We'll dig into this a little bit more, but you know, if Bleeping Computer ever listens to this podcast, can you guys please, for the love of God, get rid of your fucking banners? Holy shit.
Well, do you expect MSPs to pay a membership to actually have them make money?
Jiminy Christmas, you know.
So they need the banners.
Dude, I understand. I mean, you got the banners on the right-hand side. You got the banner on the top. You got the banners in the middle. Now you got banners coming up from the bottom. You know, next thing I know, I'm going to have one come and hit me across the side of my head.
Bleepingbanner.com should be their new domain.
I wonder if it's available. Bleepingbanner.com. You know what? We're going to go on a sidetrack here.
Don't log in. Don't let them see what domains you own.
No, this is all incognito.
So while you're talking about that, I want to talk about one of my favorite topics. Managed socks.
Oh.
Eric, tell me, how does an MSP become an MSSP?
Well, that's a great question because I don't fucking know anymore. You know, a lot of MSPs out there will partner with a MSSP or whatever, a cybersecurity company, and call themselves an MSSP. And, you know, for those who are on the video version, we're looking at IN-SOC, which apparently provides a turnkey cybersecurity for MSPs with wraparound SOC monitoring. Oh, so many buzzwords and triggers to make me shit my pants.
What are my two favorite words when it comes to this? Snake oil?
Snake oil, yep.
Fuck
Enterprise
me.
AI driven, open XDR. So
hey, InSoc, I'm just telling you, go look up in Volta. They claimed enterprise level co-location. And now they're getting their asses handed to them. Maybe you want to recheck that.
Yeah.
Can we book a time to talk to them?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'll do it after the show because I don't want to start leaking out too much info. But
MSSP wannabe. That's the name. That's your name.
Dude, that may be a good domain name too. But we've had, who was the company that we talked to? Oh, Scout Security, where they offer the quote unquote turnkey, where they are a VAR reselling services and reporting back to a single pane of glass for them to be take actionable intel against their threats.
At least they're being upfront about that. Yes. They're saying we're taking bits and bobs from everywhere, bringing them into one portal. You can see it. If we have a bit and bob to sell you for the response, great. If not, it's your problem. Like, I don't think they're overselling their capability. I just don't think people are asking them the right questions when they're looking to buy. You know, it's almost like those MSPs who buy Sentinel-1 Complete.
I was wondering if it was going to go down this path.
Fuck it. I don't care, man. I got some
Strap
piss and
in.
vinegar in me today. So,
Strap in, children.
if you or a loved one has been sold Sentinel-1 Complete and told there is threat hunting, yes, there is, children, but not by Sentinel-1. You need to buy the Vigilance add-on if you want Sentinel-1 to do this. Now, the reason I bring this up, there's a group on Facebook, which we may or may not name, I really don't care. And sometimes I troll people in there. And after 2 long days, I got a security-minded MSP to tell me all of Sentinel-1's plans come with Sentinel-1 stock. What the fuck?
Unless there's been a plan change since you and I talked to them 4 or 5 months ago.
On or about, yeah.
Yep.
Over the summer, maybe?
I don't think that's a change at all. And I don't remember the pricing by any means. I'm not even sure if we're allowed to talk about it, but if we did.
I'm not going to blow their shit up like that in public.
But if I remember correctly, the price rolling around in my head is a pretty substantial price point for them just to absorb into any and all platform or package.
It's 100% uplift.
Yeah. So I don't see them as a company looking to, be a capitalist company, let's just say, make a profit.
Well, they did have the largest IPO in cybersecurity recently. So kudos to them for that. Go CrowdStrike. But anyway, for those listening, I want swag for saying that. You know who you are. But the reason I bring this up is there are many MSPs out there selling Sentinel-1 Complete that they buy from their distributor and saying, yes, threat hunting is included. Both the MSP and their customers thinking that Sentinel-1 is doing the threat hunting. And this distributor is just added or is in the process of adding the Vigilance SKU. So what in holy fuck of fucks have they been selling and telling their clients since then?
I think PAX 8 even came out not so long ago, or some members of PAX 8 came out not so long ago and said that, they are actually changing the way that they are communicating the Sentinel-1 package. So, and you can't even buy Vigilance through PAX 8.
I think they're launching it, or they're in the process of.
Yeah, I think they're in the process of. We'll have to look.
I mean, the only person I got a straight answer from on Vigilance was David Weeks of Enable. When I asked him if they sell it, he said, no, we don't. That's not something we sell. They give you the EDR agent or Sentinel-1 Complete, and that's it. Yep.
They are looking at potentially adding Vigilance or whatever, but it's definitely not on their line card, and they're not looking to do it at this moment. And definitely tune in Wednesday, because that looks like when that episode with Enable and David Weeks, not a relation to Ryan Weeks, as we come to find out, is going to be dropped.
What do you think about MSPs that are selling Sentinel-1 Complete and making clients think they have a false sense of security with threat hunting built in? Now, you are able to threat hunt. However, you're not getting Sentinel-1's Vigilance.
But see, the threat hunting is very limited. If I remember correctly, you're not getting a full Splunk or any sort of real algorithm in the back end that you could be able to run queries on, right?
Not that I can remember. I'm sure they do have a query base, a query back end, but it's not Splunk.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Splunk is Splunk.
Splunk is Splunk. This is true. But yeah, I think that was very limited. It was very narrow in its scope on exactly what you could search for. So, by integrating or leveraging Splunk as your back end and opening it up to the partners to even search for Windows event IDs, because they already got that information from the agent. why not give the partner the ability to search for it, right? So anyway, yeah, it's just very limited scope. It's very limited visibility. So I do think, I'll get your answer in a second, but I do think Sentinel-1 may be better than a lot of them. Definitely a whole lot better than WebRoot, because fuck you, WebRoot.
I think Sentinel-1's a good product. I don't think it's a bad product. I think the people selling it need to have a little more training or education around what they're actually selling. That's my rub, right? It's not with Sentinel-1. It's just how it's sold and how it's misrepresented, not by them, but by their partner base.
Yep, and that's what I was getting ready to get to, was your original question. So I do wonder, because you and I and some of the people that we talk to in our private group, we've all elevated our questions that we've had to vendors, and all of them keep coming back. All of our close contacts keep coming back. It's like their vendors are not used to the questions that we ask them.
Why?
Because they don't know. They don't know to ask these questions. They're not, unfortunately, as informed. So I wonder, to answer your question, is it because the MSP, or, I'm just going to go back to the technologist, does not understand security? They don't understand the nuances around the products that they're selling and servicing, that they think in their heart of hearts, if you will, that they are selling these things and just not very educated? Or do you think it's a possibility that they're just ignorant and just don't care? I'm sure there's some of the latter.
I don't want to say they don't care. I think a lot of people buy into the marketing fluff by vendors. They don't look deeper into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the vendors out there sell a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
And a lot of FUD. Because that's what sells, right? Fear sells.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like you say, snake oil.
It is what it is, man. Like, it just is what it is. So, that's it from my end. I don't have anything else to shed on today.
Nah, it's been a pretty quiet week.
Are you seeing a lot more ransomware now?
Dude, no, it's actually been a very quiet month and a half. It really has. We've gotten a couple of, prospects that came in that just weren't really qualified. They just didn't really have the funds. They didn't have the insurance.
But you're supposed to do this for free, Eric. How dare you? Why do you want to charge people for your time?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
My kids don't hope on or eat off of hopes and dreams. So.
But they spent $5 on WebRoot with another provider. You should be able to do it for them for no problem. Because that's what I hear. Not in the security space, but I can't tell you how many times I walk into prospects. I'm sure you hear the same thing where we spent all this money before. Well, you spent money the wrong way.
Exactly.
It's not really my fault. So.
If you got here because you were ill-advised, now do you want to be properly advised to go down the right path? Or are you going to keep down the same path that kept you here to begin with?
There is one thing I want to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, I learned something earlier this week. We had a really great conversation with Alan Liska.
Yes.
If you do not have an incident response firm on retainer before shit hits the proverbial fan, might I recommend barricadecyber.com. Go to barricadecyber.com. Have a conversation with Eric. Yep. Because maybe you want to get those agreements hammered out before you actually need them.
This is true.
And with that, I got nothing else for the day.
Yep. Thanks for that plug. I greatly appreciate it. And with that, we will wrap up this week's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, or whatever you identify yourself as this hour, thank you so much for tuning in today.
I'm an Oreo cookie.
I'm an Oreo cookie. I'm a turkey baser.
I ain't going there. I ain't touching that one.
Sorry, children.
Fuck that.
Hey, I worked it in.
You did it. Uncle Roger.
Uncle Roger. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for tuning in for yet another episode of Amplified and Intensify, the piss and vinegar version. Please do us a favor and share this content out with the people that you think may be able to enjoy it. Help us grow this platform. We are getting people that are actually coming in and say, hey, how do we help you grow? We are going to be announcing some pretty exciting changes here within the next month, hopefully going into 2022. So please stay tuned for some of those announcements to come. And until then, Take care, everybody, and be well.